Now, the folks in Flint, they're of course having an issue with lead, and Atlanta has an older water system that you guys have been rebuilding for a number of years now. How much of a concern is lead in Atlanta water?
Well, Atlanta, our lead program, we have a lead and copper program, and based on the results from our previous sample, we're on what's a triennial monitoring period. We only have to take our samples and have them tested every 3 years because we have demonstrated that we have very low levels of lead in our water. So, for example, if a system had a chronic problem, they would be have a much more aggressive protocol that they would have to go through as far as the sampling is concerned. So that the fact that we've demonstrated to the regulators over the years that it's a very low risk here in Atlanta, we don't have to measure every year. It's every 3 years. So here I can say it's low risk.
Does the level of industry in the region have anything to do with how much lead ends up in the river and hence in the water?
No, and one of the things I'd like to really point out as far as the Flint issue compared to ours, what occurred there was they changed the source of water that they were using for the water treatment, okay? And that source had a water that was much more aggressive, and they would have to, it was a corrosive water, and if they were going to use that water as their source for drinking water, they had to do a treatment technique that we call corrosion control in their distribution system to prevent the lead from leaching into the drinking water. So the problem is they didn't take the net one, they took a wholesale change of their actual source that they were using for their product, and without a bunch of pilot testing, which you would start off by first doing a bench scale test to make sure that there wasn't any problems, to see what the results would be, what kind of changes you would need to make, and then you would go to a smaller pilot scale before you tried this. They went on a whole, a plant scale change of their water source and didn't make the adjustments that you have to make in your treatment, as far as your treatment techniques, to ensure that there weren't any problems. So that's the problem there. We have not changed our source here since the late 1800s. We've been using the Chattahoochee River. And just know, the city of Atlanta has been serving their customers with water since 1875. A lot of people don't know that. The plant that you're at now, this plant first went into service in the late 1880s. And at that point, the water we were using was coming from the Chattahoochee River. And it's been the Chattahoochee River ever since then. So we haven't changed our source. Since then, we have no plans on changing our source. However, for the water that we treat, we have a lot of experience treating that source of water. We've had a corrosion control program going on. I've been here for, this is my 28th year, and it's been going on longer than I've actually worked here. So we've been using, the proper methods that we need to use for our source. So the customer shouldn't expect to see any changes in the end product, which is their tap water, because we don't, we just don't do those kind of experiments with our water. They're what we call dual media rapid sand filters. The dual media is on the top you have anthracite coal, next layer down is sand, and then there's gravel below it, which is the support media to support the sand and the anthracite that's above it. The water flows in through the top of the filter, and it's flowing through the media by gravity past all that anthracite and sand, and once it goes through there, it just flows out to our post-flash mix, where we then add fluoride, we add lime for pH control and corrosion control, as well as phosphate for corrosion control, and more chlorine to disinfect the water. So those are basically the steps. After that, it just sits in tanks to store the water, give the chemicals contact time, as well as provide water for our suction side of our pumps to pump it to the distribution system. So that's the basic process.
So how many steps are there between coming out of the Chattahoochee to coming out of your tap?
In what I just named off to you, basically you're looking at about 6 major steps that it's going through. Okay. But along the way, it's a lot of equipment, that it's passing through. As you can see, this is a large facility, and there's a lot of equipment here that keeps this plant running. Like I say, we're around the clock and a lot of moving parts throughout the day. We do a lot of sampling. The sampling is done on an hourly basis. We have instrumentation throughout the plant, so from a centralized location, we can monitor the status of the facility as well as what the water quality is like at any given point in time. But on an hourly basis, we take grab samples to compare the results from those grab samples to what our online instrumentation is saying to confirm the readings on that instrumentation. So that's something that we do on an hourly basis, and we're not required to take all of those samples on an hourly basis, but we do this as a process control to ensure that what we see on the screen is actually the actual results and ensure that our water quality is within the parameters that we are trying to keep them in. They'll take samples of the water to ensure what they see in our SCADA system, our computerized system that we use to monitor and control the plant, to ensure that the readings that they see on that screen are accurate. So they'll come in and take chlorine, pH, fluoride, phosphate readings, turbidity readings to measure the different processes of the water treatment. And like I say, they do that on a minimum on an hourly basis to ensure the water quality is safe. Like I say, I'm proud of my employees, I'm proud of the work that they do, and I'm most especially proud of the product that we put out.